Hi, and welcome to this quick tool review. This time around we have another light to look at. You know me, I can't turn down lights, as I've explained so many times before. Have a thing about them. This is a unique light relative to all the other lights I've checked out in the past, in that this light is designed for street light replacement, either on commercial or private property. This isn't even their brightest model, and it's still supposed to be 280,000 lumens, which is insanely bright. Supposedly 2,800 watts of output, but we'll get more into that later. Let's open this guy up. The name of the company is Ofray, and it's a very unusual name. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but it's O-F-U-R-A-Y. They sell them on Amazon. And again, it's 280,000 lumens supposedly, which is exceptionally bright. My flashlight, that's my go-to flashlight for work, that runs on a single lithium cell, is 200 lumens or 150 lumens, something in that range. And it's oftentimes a little bit, almost too bright to look at if you're up close to whatever it is you're shining it on. So this one, 280,000 lumens, definitely needs to be up in the air. So here's the top of the solar cells, and it looks like one large panel, which is pretty nice actually. And it's not epoxy coated, it's glass coated, so much better than your standard solar cells that come on Chinese made lamp assemblies that are solar. Like all of our yard lamps that my wife buys dozens of, they're all epoxy covered. We try to get away from that recently. Other things break on them instead, but if you get epoxy, the sun yellows the epoxy and then makes it bubble up in just less than a year. So it's worthless. This is great because this is glass. This has a remote control with it. If their 280,000 lumens is correct and their power output of 2,800 watts is also correct, that comes out at 100 lumens per watt, which is well within the maximum capabilities of LEDs these days. A standard LED light, well, let me rephrase. The best efficiency light on the market is 220 lumens per watt. So 100 lumens per watt, definitely doable. They say it's made with 432 pieces of 5054 LEDs. Let's see if we can see that. Oh, it's very, very light. Okay, there's the LED arrays. So these are RGB chips with a single red, green, and blue and white. I did a calculation real quick, and at 4 watts per LED and 432 LEDs, that works out to 1,728 watts, not 2,800 watts. I don't know where the 1,072 watt deficit comes, or maybe they're saying this is the equivalent of a 2,800, say like sodium vapor, watt sodium, 20-degree field of illumination. The color temperature can be adjustable on this type of LED chip. I don't know what these are, from 2,700 to 25,000 degrees. Going back at the basic calculations for the LEDs, so if you're feeding full power RGB and white, not just one of the colors or the combination of RGB, then you've got 4 watts. There are supposedly 432 LEDs. Multiply that out, you come up with 728 watts. Now that's 728 watts of power dissipated by the LEDs. They're claiming this is 2,800 watts, so I'm not quite sure what they mean by 2,800 watts, because we got a 1,072 watt deficit for that 2,800 watt measurement. Maybe they're saying it's equivalent of a 2,800 watt mercury vapor or something. I don't honestly know, but the numbers don't work out just by direct calculations, but maybe that's not what they did. So we got a 220-degree spread, and if you get it at the right height, they say this will adequately illuminate 3,400 square feet, which is huge. That's about 65% of my entire property with one light. There's 33 amp hours of batteries in here, and supposedly it's good for 16-hour runtime. It's fully charged. The life expectancy of this light is listed as 60,000 hours. It has 3 separate modes. There's a remote control in here somewhere, so I'm guessing the remote control's over by where one of these clamps are, one of these end pieces. 3 modes: light sensing, where it'll detect when it's nighttime and automatically turn on; motion sensing, where it only comes on if it detects motion; or remote control, and the remote control has supposedly up to a 35-foot range. And they say up to, so I'm saying it's probably less than that. And you've got timing groups where you can have it on for 3, 5, and 8 hours continuously if you want. It's IP67 water rated, and they give a 90-day money-back guarantee. The price currently on Amazon, as I look at it, is $152, and a $20 coupon makes $132, which, if their claims are true about this, the price is pretty amazing. The unit comes with pretty basic operating instructions based on how the remote control is set up, and it has all the stuff you need to mount either in a wall form, where this already has an angle built in, or pole mounting. Both of which would be convenient. If it's for your home, then you're definitely going to want wall mount. My question is, do I have anything up high enough to take advantage of how bright this thing supposedly is? Recommended installation height, 16 to 28 feet. Holy cow. Before use, please make sure PV panel can be charged with sufficient sunlight for 8 to 12 hours. So we'll need to do that. Like a lot of these Chinese things these days, they're very complete with hardware, which is kind of insane to me that they can pull that off. So they've got some zinc-plated soft bolts here that fit on this bracket here. And then for this one, the pole mount, they gave stainless. I'm not quite sure what inspired each. Maybe because these are so much longer, they couldn't find stainless easily. I don't know. But the stainless are really nice for the pole mount, so that's pretty cool. Well, you got to know that if it arrives at my house, I'm taking it apart before I'm using it. So we're going to open this guy up. These are self-threading plastic screws, very tiny. This part would be facing down normally. Although even though it's facing down, I'd probably like to see a gasket on it. Okay. So the whole circuit board is built into this front panel display, which is very efficient. Solar cells come in this way, and there's just a big giant battery pack, which looks like D cells in here. 3.2 volts, 30 amp hours. So it really is as they listed it. They listed this as 30 amp hours, and these batteries are held in by what looks like adhesive and a tie wrap. Well, that's really straightforward. There's not a lot to this guy. So I guess next I got to get this outside and charged up in the sun, and then we'll take a look and see how bright it is. By the way, although this side faces down, there is no water gasket here. So the IP67, I don't know what that totally entails, but it must mean just like light splashing or something, because this is definitely not sealed. They do have a little valley that this fits into, so that'll make water have to go around round a bend to get inside, kind of thing. Like this, it'll have to go down and then back up to get in. But water has amazing ability to wick, and it certainly won't stop humidity from getting in. The PC board also does not, no, it does look like it's conformally coated, so it's water resistant all by itself. Another question I have is, if this is 2.8 kilowatts, where does all the extra heat go from the LEDs? Because there is no obvious cooling other than an airspace inside here, which is kind of unusual. The sealing on this is silicon sealer, but it's absent from a whole bunch of different spots on the top here, but maybe the silicon sealer is all underneath. It's press fit in, so it's got little snaps here and just 2 screw-in points over here. It's kind of a weird design, if you ask me, for supposed water resistance. I don't know how that's going to work out, because also there's a lip. If this is up and it's not at an angle, water is going to pool in here. And then will it seep inside? And then will it corrode the connections? Lots of questions. So I've got the light in my backyard, and it's nighttime. It's pretty dark out. And I wanted to be able to get enough throw, so I'm going horizontally instead of vertically, because I have nothing that's 16 to 20 feet above the ground. That's the brightness all the way up. There's the brightness all the way down. Now I don't have it high enough up to get the background, so it's just running into stuff. Let's see if I lift it up. It'll project all the way to the wall, which is easily 60 feet away. In motion sensing mode, it goes to low brightness until it detects motion, and then it bumps to full brightness rather than off to full brightness. I don't know if there's a setting for that. I couldn't find one. There's switched to full brightness. It is incredibly sensitive. I don't see a sensitivity adjustment either. There's motion sensing again. And I move in front instantly, and it's got an incredibly wide field of view. That was me at nearly 180 degrees to the sensor. Very sensitive. All right, one more comparison. So you know it's not really 200,000 lumens. So here's my garage with the lights off and this thing on full. There's the lights in my garage with all my lights on, and you can see them up top. And I don't think I have 200,000 lumens worth of lights, although they do have the advantage of being spread out evenly all over the shop. But I don't think this is 200,000 lumens. And I keep testing just to make sure. There's all the way up. There's all the way down. And I did let this charge for a day and a half on the roof, and I live in Southern California where it's pretty darn bright. So it's pretty bright, but it's not 200,000 lumens, nor is it 2,800 watt equivalent. All right, so I ran this guy overnight and it didn't make it. It didn't make it 12 hours even. I started this at 9 o'clock at night on, and it ran, I don't know when it went out. I mean, it was still glowing at 8 this morning, so 11 hours, but it was really, really dim, barely anything visible. So it didn't make it at all. The way I charged this in the sun was, for the first day I got it, I put it out in the sun at about 3 in the afternoon until dark, and it was turned off, I believe, and because it didn't come on that night. And then I put it on the roof overnight and next morning and left it all day long until the evening, and then I proceeded to do the test after it was already getting dark. So it had, I don't know, 12, 14 hours during the day that day, and I live in Southern California, and it's known to be reasonably bright here in summer, which it is right now. So I think it should have charged. They said it takes 12 hours to charge, so it had a lot longer than that. In any case, it didn't come anywhere near running overnight with a reasonable output. When it's running, it's pretty bright. Is it 280,000 lumens? I don't think so. I don't think it's even close. I went and looked up more specs on the LEDs that are in here. So these are arrays of 3 by 6, so there's 18 per, and there's eight of those. So it's 432 bulbs, so it's exactly what they said. So one of the brighter combinations of this LED, they sell a bunch of variations of this LED out there, which I think is kind of interesting. Usually when you've got a part number, like 5054, that's a specific part, but they actually make a lot of variations of it. So I will start this with a caveat that I might be missing the variation they used. But the RGB white version that I could find, the white has a lumen output of between 45 and 65, the yellow between 15 and 20 lumens, blue between 8 and 10, and green between 25 and 30. If I take all those largest numbers, 65, 20, 10, and 30, that's 145 lumens per chip. When I multiply 432 by 145, I get 62,640 lumens. And that's all predicated on getting 4 watts per chip. I don't think you can do that without active cooling. I think this thing would overheat. In addition, this battery pack, call it 4 volts at 30 amps, that's only 120 watts for an hour. So there's no way this is putting anything like they're saying. There is a headlight version of these chips. It's not RGB, I think it's one color, and it's 240 lumens. That's still only 103,680 lumens out for total for this size array. So the lumen output is nothing like what they're saying. It's very bright. If you have it up at 16 feet, it's going to light up an area very nicely. I don't think it's going to do it all night long. If you put motion sensor on, it'll probably help. When I ran this, I did not run it with motion sensor, so it was just on, because they said it should be at least 8 hours that it works. I didn't see that at all. The remote control is excellent. I love the feel. It's silicone buttons, and it's very responsive, and the range seems great. So I didn't have any problem with the remote control. I love the fact that it comes with all the mounting hardware. I think it's interesting that some of it's stainless and some of it's just zinc plated. I think that's weird. But you know, I'm not complaining. They came with all the hardware. The case is plastic, and I don't know how well this is going to survive in the sun. The other thing that I noticed was that, at least from what you can tell from the outside, I didn't want to take it off, is there's only silicone sealer in a few areas around the edge here. Now, they may have put it under, and this might be squeeze out, in which case it would be sealed just fine. I don't like the idea that this, which faces up, is a cup. Now, they might have this sitting in an angle or something like that so that it would drain, but I don't think it's a good idea to have water pooling over your LED if this thing ends up being level. I mean, if you mount this, this has a built-in angle on it, so it would be leaning down. But I don't know, I still think making a cup shape, not a good idea around electronics. Other than that, it's a very inexpensive light and it's very bright. So if you have needs for a local area, I think that's fine. I don't think their claims are anything like the reality of it. They say 2,800 watt. Maybe that's 2,800 watt equivalent. You never know what it means these days. Marketing is a really challenging thing to try and get a hold of. There's no way this battery pack could put it out 2,800 watts for more than a few seconds. So that's not happening. I gotta say that I hate the marketeering, and they're probably just responding to what all the other vendors are doing, but I hate the misleading marketing. Again, I don't see any way this thing could be 280,000 lumens, not in the best day, not even for a second. So I got to give this a thumbs down. I think it's a nice light, but I think they should market for what it is. I think the price is very reasonable for what it is. It's around $100 and something, as I said earlier. I think the construction is minimalist. That's to put it nicely. I don't think it was designed to last 10 years outside, but for the price, you probably weren't expecting 10 years either. And I gotta say, I am not a fan of throwaway manufacturing that, you know, everybody seems to be doing these days. It'd be better to build it so you buy it once and it lasts, you know, 30 years, that kind of thing. I'd much more appreciate that, because you're not stuffing stuff in the landfill and wasting materials. So that's where I stand. Thanks for watching. Hope you find it useful. Hope to see you next time.